You guys hear me okay? All right. All right. Let's get this rolling so we're not here too long. Get you on your way. Sorry I had to push it back a little bit. I was gone most of the day, so I wanted to make sure I didn't miss it. So, yeah. All right. So this week, we're going to begin interval pace. If you've looked at your plans, whether you're marathon, half marathon, you're going to begin interval pace, open pace, low mileage group, not so much. I've highlighted several weeks in each plan, as you can see, as I'm showing you on the screen here. Um, we're even going interval pace with our open pace. So all of us are going to switch to interval pace. What that is it's a basic change of speed for you in that you are no longer, as you can see here at threshold, running 20 to 30 seconds faster than your goal race pace for marathon or half. So if my goal is to run 9-minute miles for the half or the full, my threshold pace would have been like 8:40 to 8:30 for any type of threshold workout, mile repeats, whatever we were doing on those. I call them track days. Okay. But now we're going to kind of flip the script a little and we're going to go to interval pace. And a couple things will change. One, you'll need to go a little bit faster. You're going to either go your 5K race pace. So that's kind of like for a lot of veterans out there that have run 5Ks and are pretty familiar with themselves in the 5K, they can find that pace. They can run their 5K pace, or I would say you go 30 to 60 seconds faster than your goal race pace for the marathon. So, and that depends on the distance. Obviously, the longer the distance for these intervals. So, if we're doing like this week, let's just check out quickly. I think we're doing 800s. I can't remember. No, thousands. So, we're doing thousands this week, 1Ks. So, that's kind of longer, a little bit longer of a distance, but we want it a little longer. So, I would say, you would want to give yourself a little bit more than 30 seconds. You want to go on the lower end of it, of interval pace, that 30 to 60-second range. You want to get up to the higher end from 30 seconds. The basically the longer the distance, the closer you want to stay to the slower end of the pace. Just because it's going to be harder to run. If I use the 9-minute mile idea of my marathon, if I'm going to run mile repeats, it's going to be a lot harder for me to try to run them in 8 minutes than 8:30. So it might be a little better for you. You know yourselves a little better. That's why I give that 30-second wiggle room in there, is for you to kind of plot that out and feel what's going to work for you best. Maybe that 9-minute pace, if you run 8:30, 30 seconds faster, feels a little easy on the first one or so. So you drop it to 45 seconds and start doing 8:15s. And that feels like you're getting a better workout in. Then go with 45 seconds. So I want you to try to be able to find that, because I can't sit there and tell you specifically what time to run because we have so many people and it's a little tricky with that. So you have that 30 to 60-second gap. And within that, you're going to want to find something that's going to work for you. And obviously, you're not going to keep hitting the same time interval after interval after interval. If you're running mile repeats at 8:30, if one is 8:27 and one is 8:34, one goes down to 8:28, then one goes up to 8:32, that's all a good range. If you could keep 10 seconds between all of your repeats, whatever you're doing, whether it's mile, half, you can keep a 10-second window frame in there. That's really good. Okay. So we're going to start moving that to a faster interval pace. We call it interval pace, but a faster pace, because now we're going to be working into that cardio zone. We're going to get into it. So before, we were getting right up to it, but not really pushing into it too much because we wanted to build that strength of you being able to run at a longer distance for a hard pace. Now we're going to try to raise your ability to run that pace. So not only, hopefully, you can run a 9-minute mile pretty quickly for a marathon and it'll feel easier, but that mile will get a little bit quicker under your feet. It won't feel as fast for you when you start running these interval pace workouts. That's what we're hoping for, is to get that cardio up to the point where it feels easier for you to run 9-minute pace. Okay. And that's what these are going to do. You'll get a little more rest on these. So we'll be working with more rest as we get to some of the longer runs. So because we got to let your heart rate to come down more. It takes a little while to get into that VO2 max area where we're going to go into that red line. Getting past that, it takes like a minute or two into the interval. So that's why I try to do thousands and 800s. I don't go too far below it. Once in a while, we might dip into the 600 range, but I try to keep 800 and above for most of us, so you can get into that range for a little while you're running these intervals. Okay. So take that into account when you're doing these. And now we're going to start getting into active rest also. So like if it's, let's look at what we got over here. Our 1Ks, I didn't give you a rest on that. I will probably give everyone a rest. I don't know why I didn't put a rest on that. Oh, there it is, minute rest. Yeah, so we're going to stick with a minute on these because theirs aren't too long. But as you see, when we get to the mile repeats in the 1200s, we're going to probably start going around 2 minutes with that rest because we want you to have a little more for those. And once we get past the minute rest, I really like people to do more active rest, meaning I would want you to like shuffle jog between them, like run nice and slow, almost walking, but a nice recovery jog to keep the legs moving. You don't want to stand around for 2 minutes between these if you're doing mile repeats or 1200s. You want to just stand there for 2 minutes and let that blood just pool into your legs. Okay, you want to keep the heart moving, the blood pumping, and the heart rate up some, so you're not starting from a dead stop again. Okay, and we'll get in, and I'll be including that in emails and communications too. So why did I block these 4 weeks out? I blocked 4 weeks for the full and 5 for the half. Whether it's the open pace low mileage or the regular half marathon plan, I blocked 5 weeks because you're going to go into week 14 with yours. If you look at it, you notice these are the 4 biggest weeks coming up. These are the 4 biggest volume weeks. These are all the 4 highest mileage weeks. These are the highest long run weeks. These get into some of the serious tempo workouts. Basically, the reason why I'm highlighting this is I want you to be aware that this is where we start really getting into the bread and butter of what we're doing here. These 4 weeks are going to really get you set for the marathon. Once we get through these 4, then we maintain. Okay, we maintain. And the marathon, since they put in so much more mileage and volume and work, we give them an extra week to sort of slowly bring it down. I do not believe in a massive taper. Like, we're not going to sit here and do absolutely nothing the last week of running. We're going to still do some quick stuff. We're going to still do a little bit of a tempo. We're still going to be running, more days than not, because I have found over the years that too much taper leaves people flat. It leaves people flat. They don't feel ready anymore. They don't feel quick. They get sick a lot of times because their immune system, it gets a little weakened because they're not at their training at their highest level anymore. So I don't like to do a big cut down. That's why the lowest mileage app still only goes down to 35, even though we hit 50, and that is a big 50, that's what, 15, 20% still decrease. So that's a decent drop, but we're not going to cut like 50% away and go to 25 miles or something. We have to keep it a decent amount going so you're ready still. So the marathon will take the next week, the next 4 weeks, and these are going to be the ones you want to focus on. You're going to really want to focus in on and make sure you're getting the quality runs in, the long runs, the road workouts. Even some of these track days are going to be good workouts. The 2 by mile, 2 by 1200, week 13, that is a massive track workout. 2 by 1K, and then 2 miles with 3 on 1 off, and 2 by 1K. And I'll get into that because that's what I call like a hybrid workout. Those used to be my favorite workouts, and I did a lot of them where I go from the track to the road to the track again, or vice versa, track to road to track, back and forth. Really helped me a lot. And so I think these will help us too, help you with that strength and that ability to run long and sustained efforts. Okay. So that's your 4-week block. You can see the marathons there, and you can see it all when you see it blocked off, how big these miles are going to get for you. So we got to stay on our game there. We got to take care of ourselves. We got to eat right, because when you start getting to 50 miles and that can take a toll on you. Okay. And then our half plan, same thing. but I'm going an extra week into week 14 because I'm not going to cut you down that much until a week before because you're still doing good volume. So you're going to be in your highest miles, 36 to 40, 35 to 40 range for 5 weeks. Okay. And you can see these big long runs here. These will all, well, this is a 9-mile race. It'll probably be 10 miles after you warm up and cool down. But you can see all of these runs will be double digits. These will all be double digit runs. We still have big tempos for you also. You still have these big workouts just like the marathon runners do. Your volume just isn't as big on the tail end. You don't go up to 50 miles. So I'm going to hold you still with a half marathon for 1 more week before we really drop anything out. And again, it's going to be a modest taper. Can't really cut back. When we're at 35 miles, if we cut back too much, we're literally not doing anything. Because if we get our 8-mile long run on the weekend and I cut it in half to like 20 miles, that means I have 5 days to try to get in 12 miles. That's 2 to 3 miles a day. That's not going to do anybody any good. So we want to keep you fit and keep you ready to go, but without overtraining you. So it's a fine line, but over the years, I think I've honed it to a good enough for all of us to get through this. And this is going to work if we stick to it. So those guys, you guys have 5 weeks there. So you can see that for the standard plan too for the half marathon. 5 strong weeks coming up. Okay. And then the same thing for open pace. You know, it's might not be a lot for the marathoners, but for you guys, this is a lot. You know, we're lining up 3 long 9-milers in a row. Then we're going to go up to 11 and then 11 again because the Dave Spring run will be 11 for you guys. And you still have this big long run, still 50 to 55-minute run every week. And then you have serious workouts coming your way too. These will be more than you've done in the past. So this is why, and even the Monday runs become 40 to 50 minutes too. So that's why all of these next 4 to 5 weeks are critical to keep you fit and to get over and to kind of get you into that hump of, over that hump of getting fit for the marathon to being fit for the marathon and half. Okay. These 4 to 5 weeks here are what's going to be the final, like what you want to call piece of the puzzle here. And then we kind of hit the cruise control and keep going through our workouts and keep steady course. But, you know, we'll start getting the legs back under us in the next 2 to 3 weeks after week 13 or so. 13 for the fulls, 14 for the halves. Then we'll start getting our legs back underneath us. Okay. But for those 4 to 5 weeks, we want to really push it. I know I'm throwing a lot of information at you. So if you have questions, feel free to, you know, yell something out at me if something gets real confusing, or type it in the chat and I can answer it for you. Okay. But those will be the next weeks. I just want to make sure you guys are aware of it. We're going to keep pushing that out to everybody and making sure everybody is trying to stay as focused as they can. All right. So that leaves us with, you see here this Saturday, we have a race. Now, for those of you in the area, we had a race. We're going to put on a race for our people, our MIT, that Shamrock and Mayhem. There's a 5K, there's a 15K, there's a 25K. The 15K, I recommend for all half marathoners, whether you're in the open pace group or whether you're in the half marathon group. Marathoners, I recommend the 25K if you haven't registered yet. Now, might not be able to go to the race, might not live around here, might be busy that Saturday, that's fine. Those are the distances we're going to cover. So if you're not here, you can still cover that distance. But make sure, I would really like to see a race effort out of it. Like I said last time we met, if you can go virtual and get it in on a Sunday or a Friday, I would really like to see what you can do with a real hard effort. Now, does it have to be an all-out race effort, you know, for a 25K, 15K? Not necessarily. But maybe you get going in those middle 7 miles of the 9-miler. Or the middle, you know, 13 miles of the what is it, 25K, 15 and a half, almost 16 miles. Yeah, it's almost 16 miles. So maybe you get going in those middle 10 to 12 miles there. You know, this is a good chance for you to race with competition, to get your hydration and nutrition down, because they're not going to be giving anything but water tables at the marathon, just little 8-ounce water bottles. So any calories you need, you will have to have on your own. So you're going to need to either bring some like honey stingers, some chews, liquid calories, you know, something like that while you are racing, because you can't be out there for an hour or so after that and not taking calories and expect it to perform well at the end of the race. You're going to bonk, as they say. So you definitely want to keep some stuff in you, some nutrition, some type of calories. And that's what we're going to work on for this race. That's one of the aspects, because when the marathon and the half get here, you're not going to have time to figure out what to do 2 days before. So we want to use this in the upcoming long runs, the Dave Spring run, which we will run the parts of the marathon and half marathon course as our long run. Those will be perfect opportunities to start getting how you're going to take in calories and how you're going to keep hydrated. Because they'll have water tables, but they're not going to be as many as before. So we're really pushing that on the marathon. But for this Saturday, we have a race situation for you. It would be, I have some people I've been corresponding with you guys on Training Till, because I might need to readjust some paces, because some guys are going a lot faster than they really have for a goal time. It looks like we could start revising some of these times and maybe start looking at a little bit quicker here, maybe slow someone down a little bit there. But this race will give us a good idea of what we can do if we need to adjust your pace at all. Most of you are right on doing perfect. You're hitting your paces. You're right in that range, variances here and there, but most of you are hitting what you need to hit. And that's what we want. We want to keep progressing, because remember, the paces that we're doing and everything is for you to run the marathon at that pace at the end of the 16 weeks. So if you're not quite at that pace yet, I've been telling a few people, it's not a big deal. The goal is to get to that pace. So by the end of the program, that's what we want. We want you to be able to then run the pace when you're doing your tempos or other things. So don't worry if you're a little bit off, if you're a little slower on it, that's fine. We're just in week 9. We still have 7 good weeks left. So we'll get it ironed out. Just keep working at the pace. Keep working at the pace on the tempos. Keep making sure you spend time on your feet on the long runs. Don't get into a fast pace too much, because these long runs will tear your legs apart if you start pushing that race pace or getting close to it each week. We're going to be hammering, especially I really worry about marathoners the most, because, we're plugging away at 18, 20 miles here, 16 next week. And you can see we're going 18, then this is going to be around 20, the Dave Spring run. So if you're out there ripping these close to your marathon pace, I mean, you're just plowing through these days, these weekend long runs, 4 weeks in a row. It's going to take its toll on your legs. Okay. So save the quick, hard, long runs for, April 25th. Okay. That's when you're going to want to use it. So put the time on your feet, try to stay in the range. I know we get a little excited, and that's fine, but just don't get carried away in them. Just want to keep reminding people that. And now that we're in these weeks, these 4 to 5 weeks, consistency is paramount. Okay. Weather's getting nicer. We can get out a little more. Daylight's coming next Sunday. Daylight savings time will be next Sunday. There'll be more daylight later. So there'll be more opportunities to get out and run. Well, unless you're a really early morning runner, then you're going to be dark again, as it's getting light for you in the morning now, but it's going to go back to being dark at the end of next week. But there's going to be a lot more opportunities to run. Weather's going to be nicer. So if you were having issues with getting out, trails are sloppy, roads are icy, we should be over that now. So consistency is going to be paramount. It can still help on treadmills when you need to and things like that, but we want to keep on that consistency level so we don't get people hurt, and so people are fit and in shape and ready to go. Okay. And that race this weekend will give us will be a big information piece for me and for you, but I like to see it because I like to see what you guys, how you're progressing, because it's kind of helps me start looking at, how is your pace look? Do we need to adjust anything? Are we ready to go for the last haul here for these last 6 weeks or so? So when we get there this weekend, like I said, if you're unable to race it, if you can do the virtual part, or even that Saturday, if you're not doing a race at all, go out and try to run it hard on your own, then I can get some kind of, idea. And I'm going to talk about it in the weekly email that you guys will get tonight too. I'll break it down into a couple different ways you can race this to give you some ideas. So that'll help also. If you have a race next weekend, that's fine. Then make sure you get in your long run this week, and then you can race next weekend. I mean, I know TRC has Great Black Swamp going on. I think it's the 27th, 28th. If you're going to wait till then, it's a little late to wait for a race, but if you wanted to, you could probably squeeze it in. I just be careful because you're getting close to your marathon and half marathon race. I try to shut all racing off like 4 weeks before. So you're getting real close to it. That would definitely be the last week. Longer races, I get a little more nervous about. This is a 10K or something, I wouldn't, the Great Black Swamp, I wouldn't worry about too much about it. But anyway, that's how it's going to look. Do you guys have questions about this next 4 to 5 weeks? 4 for the fulls and 5 for like the halves and stuff. Does anyone have questions about anything they can see or wondering about anything? I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Padma, go ahead.
I was just wondering that sometimes the use of a certain shoe or something gives you like a toe pains.
Yeah.
So is there anything quick to alleviate that? I mean, other than of course changing the shoe, but
You mean in the
sometimes
joints?
no, in the toe, in the big toe.
Oh,
Oh.
there's a couple things there, and a couple people have talked about this. Now that these long runs are getting up there, and that's for everybody, whether it's marathon or half, we're going to start coming up with those foot issues, blisters, where maybe you didn't get blisters before, toe pain, where you maybe didn't have toe pain before. I would be worried if it's shorter runs that it's happening on, or is it just happening on the longer runs?
It's just a long run. And I think it
Yeah.
was because of a new shoe that I tried. But I mean, of course, I'm not wearing that shoe anymore. But I mean, the pain is still a little bit persistent. It might go away. But anything other than cutting the top of the shoe off or making a hole in it, I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Are these newer shoes?
Yeah, I returned them because I didn't like the way I felt them when I
Yeah,
was
it might
running.
need
So,
you might need a little bit bigger toe box so your
mhm.
toes can spread out a little bit more and they're not getting crowded. I know I'll get the same thing because my second toe tends to sit on top of my third toe, and if the shoe's a little crowded, it's literally pushing down on it and it hurts.
Mhm.
Yes, and you're going to notice in these long runs, you're going to start feeling those things in your feet, and that's when you start being proactive. Like someone was talking about how they were getting blisters on their feet now from the long runs, and I was
Mhm.
saying, yep. I mean, I used to take Vaseline and coat my entire foot with it and put a sock over it, and that's the only thing that would do it for me because I would get blisters a lot too. So things like that, you're going to have to find, little things like this to help you out because that's going to be part of the game. Is that's a whole thing, part of these distance races, not just being fit but also dealing with issues that can happen like this,
Mhm.
because when you're out there pounding the pavement for 2-3 hours at a time, things, blisters, aching toes, joints, those things are going to creep up on you. And so take care of them now during the long runs. Figure out what's going to work. Is it going to be Vaseline on the feet? Do I need to put blister pads in certain areas? Because they do sell like these rubberized blister pads that you can stick
Mhm.
directly on your skin. And it's like a piece of rubber almost that will protect it. They have Body Glide for chafing and things like that. Like Padma was saying, if you're finding that it's hurting your foot, you got a different new pair of shoes, definitely take them back. If you got them from Dave's within the last month or so, they always exchange them. And a good thing that Padma was talking about, you definitely don't want to go get a pair of shoes 2 weeks before the marathon, and those are going to be your marathon shoes. All right, if you're going to get some shoes for the marathon, do that in the next few weeks and break them in slowly so you can use them for the race and make sure they feel all right, because you want to get at least a good long run out of them. You're going to want to do one of these 18 milers or 11 milers for the halves in those shoes. Okay, you definitely don't want to be breaking out brand new shoes a week of or 2 weeks of when you're doing a little 12 miler and you're going to have to go run 26 miles. That's not the time to break in new shoes. You want to break them in on one of these longer runs. So that's definitely, if you have a pair though that are going to last, then keep it going. That's fine. Okay, but just be aware of that. Other questions? But definitely ice the toe, and as long as it's getting better, keep doing what you're doing. I always tell
Yeah.
people, as long as it doesn't get worse for a 3 to 4 day period, like 3 to 5 days, if it's staying the same and then slowly begins to get better, you're on the right course. If it's not getting better and it's staying the same, or if it gets worse, then we have to talk to somebody. Okay.
Yeah, also I like the crepe bandages because if sometimes there's the weird, you pull some weird tendon in your ankle or something and it's not exactly a sprain, but just bandaging that up before you run really, really helps because you don't do any more injury to that. And it's worked for me. So I kind of like those two.
Good, good. If it works for you, then yeah, then there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yep.
Okay, good. Anyone else have a question for me? I'm sorry, I'm not on the screen today. I still can't get my camera to work. I don't know what's going on.
You flash in and out.
I know, and I think it's showing it won't work at the top, so I don't know. And I try to fix it always 5 minutes before we start, so that doesn't help either. I don't think about it until we're getting ready to do it. I'm like, oh yeah, my camera doesn't work. So I'll try a little better next time. Do you have a question, Gary?
Yeah, just with respect to the race next weekend and the training schedule. I mean, other than putting the event on this calendar, it doesn't look like the training was modified at all for this week.
No,
Okay.
no, the tempo though, I will probably I'm going to send out the weekly email, but I will revise this workout a little bit, this tempo. I'll probably cut back the volume of the tempo actually, but I would like to see some people still get this tempo in because I'm not sure how many are going to go to the race.
Right.
I might give something alternative or just shorten it down a little just to get people familiar with their pace and then come back for the race and try it again. But it won't be anything. I'm going to try to limit that a little if they're racing. And I'll put that in the email too. I haven't decided fully yet, but I knew I was going to cut back at least 2 miles of it and probably go with 7 miles and do 2 through 5 or 2 through 6.
Okay. I guess the other question would be, you know how some people have had to, for whatever reason, work and so forth, sometimes switch days and still get the whole gambit of training in.
Yeah.
But this is for sure the preferred sequence of workouts. In other words, instead of doing the tempo or whatever on Tuesday and the 1000s on Thursday, this is the preferred sequence.
Oh, I know what you mean. Okay. That's a good question. I really didn't put, that is a good question because I added this race in after I made the plan, right? I probably would have manipulated things a little more. I'll tell you what, let me look at that a little closer for the email. And if I do anything drastic, I'll definitely make sure to notify that. I don't want us to cut back too much because I want us to keep going, but I also want a quality race out of everybody. I don't want people dragging into the race. So let me see what I want to tweak that with because I know a lot of these people and I know what they're going to want to try to do. So I'm going to try to meet halfway and see if we can get the sequence in line. But I get what you're saying. What I would probably want to do is, if you're racing Saturday, I would think that Thursday workout we're going to lighten that up. I still want to see the thousands at interval pace because I want to get into those. I want to start getting into pace. But the tempo, I might even, if you're racing like the 25K, especially for marathoners, that's my concern, is just the overkill of it. I might switch that out and do us and either do an easy run or no, it'd probably be an easy run. I wouldn't leave the workout. I'm going to switch it up though. I think that's a good point, Gary. I didn't even think of that. That maybe with the people that are going to be racing a 25K, we might just make that an easier type run for the day and just get some volume in. That way people will be ready. I don't want to get rid of the volume though. I want to keep our volume there.
Right. Well, it's been my experience, it's easier to recover, if you will, from tempo type workout, going into a weekend race than an interval type workout, shortly before the race. So
and that's what we'll have with our track people is that we're going to have a Thursday track session. So what I usually do for a race is instead of the 5 times 1000, I would tell them if you're racing Saturday, if I saw them on the track, I would say, let's do 3 times 1000 because I can't take, the actual Bowling Green track. I have people there on Thursday, so they're going to do a workout of some sort.
Sure.
But, right. I would usually limit it, but for all of you, like Gary was mentioning, you guys are able to manipulate and move the days around to fit your schedule. So Gary's correct. You don't want to do the thousands later in the week. Those want to be earlier, like on Tuesday, and you want to take that tempo and use that later in the week. And even if we do it, I'm going to probably switch it out for an easier run. If you are going to race that 25K, 15K, I'm going to probably just make it a volume day, 9 miles, just a 9-mile run, and leave the racing and the tempo for Saturday. And then that way you'll be set. And then you just got to worry about the track workout earlier in the week. Okay. And that still gives us 2 good quality days.
Right.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned that, because it probably would have zoomed right over my head with that. I appreciate that. But yeah, and if not, if you're not racing, I'm going to tell you to go full steam ahead with that 9 miles at MP, and then do your 60-mile long run on the weekend. If you're a marathoner and you can't get in a race of any kind, maybe you're busy on the weekend, then I'm just going to have you stick to the schedule. Okay. But I'll definitely include that in the email, because not everyone's on here either, though. So I want to make sure everyone knows that. But that's a good point. Okay. What else, gang? We got a couple minutes left. If anyone has any last.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
Can we quickly go to the half marathon plan?
Yeah.
I was just wondering, because this week I think we have continuous run days and there's no rest. Is that something I should be concerned about?
Oh, you have Sunday. You have a rest day on Sunday, but yes, in order
Just before the race.
No, yeah, we're gonna race, but we're not going to rest for the race. Let's put it that way. I wouldn't be worried about it. You're pretty fit. 4-mile easy run. I would just take it nice and easy. Okay. A good shakeout run for you. Get the legs moving. Do it a little earlier than later. Try not to wait till too late in the day to do it, so you give yourself some more recovery time. But there are times when we don't want to sacrifice too much of our training to make sure we get us in. We can still race well, even if we run the day before. Okay. But we'll get the rest the day after. This just happens to be a week where we want to make sure we get our miles in. And again, originally there wasn't a race on there, but we'll be fine doing it this way. We'll be okay.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I know it's a little different for you, but if you feel nervous about it, it's not, set in stone. If you're going to be better off with a rest day, then use your best judgment. But that's going to keep our volume of mileage up too.
Yeah, I'm not going to miss a run, because I feel like I'm skipping homework, and that's the worst feeling ever.
There you go. Exactly. Some people would even take the rest day on Friday, possibly do the 4-mile Sunday as a shakeout run after the race, kind of loosen their legs up after they do the race. That's fine too. Just realize, if you do it Sunday, you're going to go Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and that you're not going to get a rest day till next Sunday.
Yeah.
So that's the trade-off. You'll have 9 days before your next rest day instead of 7. So
Right.
just making you aware if that's what you decide. There's options though. There's always options. Okay. All right, guys, we're gonna get cut off in a few minutes. So I'm gonna cut us off before that. If you have any other questions, or I didn't cover something, or you want to ask me something in private, shoot me an email. I'll send this out as a recording, and the weekly email will come out too with a little bit more information than that too to help us along. All right. All right. I won't see you. I'll get back to you. I'll be out at the race, so hopefully I'll see some of you at the race. But if not, we'll be back Sunday the 21st. Sound good?
Good.
All right, guys.
Sounds good.
Have a good week.
Thanks.
Get
Thank
out
you.
there, get on the roads, have some good training. All right.
All right.
Take it easy,
Bye.
everybody. We'll see you.
All right.